Hey gamers! Today we will talk about one very interesting game, and that is the Plague Tale Requiem. This is the direct sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, which was very interesting and surprisingly good game that came out in 2019. The story of Plague Tale Requiem begins 6 months following the events of the first game, where our heroes fought hordes of rats that have been spreading the Black Plague known as the Bite, and also they fought French Inquisition troops. It is not required, but to understand story and characters, I recommend that you finish the first game before playing the Requiem. Main protagonists of the first game, siblings Amicia and Hugo de Rune, along with their mother and friend alchemist apprentice Lucas, must now travel to southern France to look for secret order of alchemists and later an island which may provide a cure for Hugo's mysterious blood disease. Hugo is frequently overwhelmed by his newfound powers. He is under the influence of disease called macula, which enables him to control hordes of rats, and because of that he is interesting to alchemists and Inquisition who want that power for themselves. While Amicia must face the emotional trauma of killing enemies and other actions done to protect herself, her mother and her brother. The story in both games is mix of real history, for example plague in 14th century France, Inquisition, but also it has fantasy elements. The story is told through cutscenes and interactions between characters during the gameplay. Gameplay-wise, the game is third-person action-adventure with great emphasis on stealth. You control Amicia, who is very skillful with her slingshot and later with crossbow, that she uses to dispatch enemies, distract them, and they are also useful during the environmental puzzles. Amicia progressively learned to craft and use different types of ammunition that she crafted from alcohol, sulfur, black tar, etc. And then she used regular stones, fire projectiles, projectiles from tar that will react with torches and fire in general, and then she used projectiles that will extinguish fires and torches, and without some sort of light enemies will be killed by red hordes. So Amicia must use different type of weapons tactically depending of situation. There are also daggers and knives that are only for one-time use. Amicia also can counterattack and stun enemies or finish them if she have knife or dagger on her disposal. But the most recommended way to play this game of course is stealth, because Amicia can deal with one blow. And if you do not escape encounter fast, second attack from enemy will be fatal. When you play, you must be aware of surroundings, plenty of possibilities to resolve some problem. You can throw a rock and distract enemies, release piece of meat from hook and attract the rats, light the fire to make rats scarce, or extinguish those fires to attract the rats that will attack enemies. You can get through area without killing enemies totally unnoticed, but maybe you decide to fight. It's totally up to you. Because you craft ammunition and upgrade your weapons, you have some light loot mechanics here in this game. Player will watch for chests with resources, crafting parts and materials like alcohol, salt, sulfur, tar, etc. It is linear game but with some exploration elements. What is also implemented here are some scripted set pieces which are terrific. For example, Amicia must escape horde of rats that are chasing her and destroys everything in front of them. Good chunk of missions you will have some companion, mostly Lucas, and they will help you during environmental puzzles where you can issue them some simple commands to move or hold something and fight enemies. In essence, gameplay loop consists from stealth areas where you sneak and silently kill enemies, and those where you resolve environmental puzzles, with some set pieces and turret sections thrown in. But all of that is represented in tight and beautiful package. First game was strong AA title. I am glad that that game done well and Asobo Studios invested in second game a lot. Every single part of Requiem is AAA title, game is beautiful, maps are larger than in previous game, texture work is phenomenal like rock textures for example, foliage, some parts look almost photorealistic and seemed like work of some famous painter. Music is beautiful, middle-age tones, middle-age music and instruments. Voice acting is superb and you will enjoy listening dialogue between characters during gameplay, especially later when group is expanded and more characters join Amicia, Hugo and Lucas on their adventure. Cutscenes are okay, but problem are stiff facial expressions and not very good lip syncing. Also what I encountered is the same as others, are frame rate drops. And I hope that some patch will resolve that. Yes, there are segments where you have crowd of people and hundreds of rats on screen, but that is not excuse for FPS drops on strong rigs. In age of live service and multiplayer games or open world games with repetitive gameplay and empty worlds, this type of game are not present so much on market. It's like Asobo used the best from Naughty Dog games like Last of Us, Uncharted or God of War and others, and made beautiful story-driven action-adventure game with well-written characters and story. I worried for these characters, what will happen to them, and I wanted to see how the story will end. The only thing is to highly recommend this game if you like action slash stealth adventure story driven game, you will enjoy and money will be well spent. And if you didn't, you should play Plague Tale Innocence. I hope so that we will have third Plague Tale game very soon.